Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm JJ, and today I want to talk about how to learn languages with video. So, when you're watching TV or Netflix or YouTube or even something like Disney Plus well, anything to be honest. I'm going to go right into it. So, the first things first is honestly, when people think about learning languages, even for myself, it can be a little bit blah, like when we think of the word learning, we think of being in school, we think of maybe sitting down, maybe just listening to the teacher and it's blah, 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 blah. Or maybe we think about like getting our notebook and it's really, really intensive and it's a lot of stress and maybe you feel really tired. Yeah, that's part of it. But when you think of learning like that, oftentimes it can be very overwhelming. And so when I talk about learning, especially when it comes to learning through video, I don't mean that it's going to be fun all the time, okay? Learning languages does take work. If anyone says you can just learn languages with no work, then they might be lying to you. But what I do believe, and this is something I mentioned time and time again, it's from a very famous linguist, Dr. Stephen Krashen, and he mentions it, he says like this: compelling, comprehensible input. So basically, you want to learn languages with things that are very compelling, very interesting, comprehensible. You understand not everything, but the main idea, and input. So specifically, things from listening and also from reading. Now, today I want to talk about videos. How do we do it? What's the best way to do it? There's many ideas, and I want to share some that works for me, and hopefully it works for you. So the first one is simply why learn with videos? Well, the number one great thing about videos is that it's a great way to get compelling, comprehensible input. And personally, I think it's one of the best ways to practice your listening. For many of my students, when they're learning languages, the biggest challenge actually is understanding native speakers or understanding fast speakers. And it can be very scary, right? Having conversations is something that many students want to learn how to do. Whether you want to learn languages to travel, to move to a new place, to learn in a different environment, I don't know. It could be for business, whatever. But listening is often very challenging. And many students always say, well, teacher, I've learned for so long in school, but whenever I'm actually talking to someone, I don't understand them. I can understand the test. I can understand maybe the Cambridge test. I can understand the IELTS, the TOEFL. But when I'm talking to a real person, everyone just and I get really scared. And one good thing about videos, about things like Netflix, about YouTube, is that you get to have a lot of this input. And oftentimes, I personally believe it's better than the educational, like the textbook listening and stuff, because with textbook videos and textbook listening, it's designed to be very slow. It's designed for you to pick it up one step at a time. And that's good, but sometimes it's too comfortable. A lot of times for my students who are, let's say, intermediate, high intermediate, even advanced, watching more natural things is the way to go. And to be honest, even when you're watching something like a TV show or a movie, they're still using a script. So oftentimes it's not as super authentic as what you would see, on the street, but it is a great way to listen. And I actually encourage, if it's a little bit challenging, that's good. Remember, it's just like the gym. When you go to the gym, you want to be able to lift weights or do exercises that are a little bit challenging. That's how you grow. It's okay if you don't understand everything, but if you understand the main idea, you can still enjoy the TV show, you can still enjoy the video or the movie. The next question that my students always ask is, well, okay, I'm going to watch something, but should I watch with the subtitles on or with the subtitles off? This is a very big controversial topic in language learning. And to be honest, both are fine. Okay, there's no one that is better than the other. But what I always ask, what is your goal? What is your objective? I believe personally that in the beginning, maybe when you're first starting out at a lower level, having subtitles is fine. And of course, subtitles, please, in that language, in the target language. If I'm learning Spanish, my subtitles will be in Spanish. Why? Because if it is in English, I would just end up reading in English. And I want you to think for yourself. When you're watching something, what's easier? Just to listen or to read? Most of the times it's to read, because when you see words, when you see action, it's maybe distracting. Like if I do this, you're focusing on my hands, maybe. And so it's the same concept. Just be careful. Are you trying to improve your listening or your reading? Many students who are watching, they watch maybe a lot of shows, but they're watching with the subtitles on, and they say, well, when I'm reading, it's fine. Let's say they're learning English. When I'm reading, it's fine. But when I listen to someone speak in English, I don't understand. But I don't get it, teacher. I'm watching so many shows. And my answer would be, well, are you listening or are you actually reading? And that's the key. Remember, in real life, like when you're talking to a real human being, there's probably no subtitles, right? So that's something I encourage. I actually encourage, when it's possible, when you understand the main idea, try to watch without subtitles. It's going to be super scary in the beginning. Everything will be, but you're going to be surprised. If you keep going, if you keep watching more, you will realize that your brain will actually start to get the main concepts, especially if it's something like a TV show where the characters are always the same. You know, something like a sitcom, or those, you know, those general TV, like those popular TV shows where you don't have to think very much. That's perfect, because you will see the same characters and the same kinds of situations. So that's what I would say. To be honest with you, if possible, no subtitles. Why also? Because when you have no subtitles, you also have to focus on things like the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation of the language, the syllables, the stress, how things flow in the language. You're going to hear the music of the language. And that makes you focus on those aspects, which maybe in real life you don't have a chance to, or you're not used to thinking about it, because these are things that are actually, sometimes it's hard to think about consciously. You really need to have a lot of input. I stress that there is no shortcut. There is no shortcut. You do need to watch a lot. I'm sorry. So what other things can you do? Well, one thing I really recommend too is, maybe if you feel like, oh, I don't know, I mean, everything is so difficult. Well, try to watch something that you already like. I really love cartoons. Think about shows that are for kids and for teenagers. Think about those. When you are a native speaker of your language, when you were a baby, you did not need to translate, right? And when you watch these kids shows or these teenager shows or movies, the language is not very difficult. So I really recommend things like, for example, Disney Plus. My favorite Disney movie is Moana. And I was watching the whole thing in Spanish, and I was really surprised because I couldn't understand everything. But then I checked again afterwards with subtitles or with the English audio, and I actually understood more than I thought. And of course, I already knew the story. So I encourage you to do that. Rewatch things you already like so that it's fun and you already understand the main idea, so you're not worried about, being lost. And the final thing I'm going to talk about with learning from videos, many of my students always ask me, what should I do, teacher, if I don't understand something? Should I stop and go back to the beginning, or should I keep going, or blah, blah, blah? And here's what I'm going to say. Personally, I would recommend try your best not to stop. Learn to be okay with not understanding, to be peaceful in uncertainty. And the reason I say that is because if you start and you stop very often, it's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to not have fun anymore. Now it's just, I have to rewind here. Again, it's so boring. And it's very easy to just give up. Instead, I would recommend, for example, on YouTube, it's really easy because a YouTube video is maybe 10 minutes long or whatever. Watch the whole thing and then go back and see if you understood. Maybe the second time you watch, you can watch it with subtitles. The third time you watch, you can watch it with your native language. I don't know. You can try it in many different ways. There's no one size fits all. Find the way that works best for you. But I would recommend try to watch at least, for example, if it's a movie or a TV show, try to watch, maybe finish the episode if possible, or finish the scene. You know, like when you see the people, they're fighting a dragon, and then the next scene, they're, I don't know, drinking, I don't know, they're drinking and stuff and eating. Well, that's a different scene. So you can go back and check. But I advise try not to start and stop so much, because then it's very easy to get distracted, very easy to want to do something else, and very easy to quit. So the final thing I will mention is stuff that's personally worked for me. I really, really love, what I like to do is I like to watch when I'm cooking. So when I'm cooking, when I'm cutting onions and stuff, I usually like to watch food shows. There's a personal reason, because I love eating. And when I learn languages, I want to learn so I can travel, so I can eat. So for example, when I was learning Spanish and Portuguese, I was watching things in Spanish like Taco Chronicles on Netflix and Street Food, Latin America. And so that's my personal preference. But think of it this way. Look, I've watched so much Netflix already and so much YouTube, and I'm bored, right? Coronavirus, there's so many things we already watched. So think of it, it's productive time. You can watch something and learn a language at the same time. But don't focus on learning the language. Focus on enjoyment. The goal is simple. I want you to enjoy the content and you forget that it's in a different language. Why? Because then it will be natural. It will become something that's part of your life, and the more you watch, the more you get into the culture, the more you engage, the more you'll grow and the more you'll learn. So that's what I'll say for today. I hope this video helped you, and yeah, I'll see you next time. That's JJ out.